Um, Speaking of the Elite Eight, any surprises, men's or women's side in the Elite Eight?
I mean, in terms of surprises, we got to talk NC State. We got to talk NC State. This was a
Yeah.
team that was tied with 5 minutes to go against Louisville in the first round of the ACC tournament. People thought they were getting knocked out. The coach was going to get fired. Heads were going to roll. And now they're 2 games away from winning the Natty. And then you also have
Right.
to remember the following round against Virginia. They were down by 3 with 4 seconds left. Virginia, 87% free throw shooter at the line. He makes the shot. It's over. Misses the shot. They go down the length of the court, score with no time left, force overtime, win the game. Like the domino chain of events that had to happen for NC State to go on this miracle run of theirs is insane. And it feels so weird because I went to college in North Carolina. And
Right.
there you were you were a UNC fan or you were a Duke fan. NC State was just there. They were like the middle child that no one cared about. It's almost like it's not like the best comparison.
They weren't. That's the stadium? That's the arena that's not selling out unless they're playing Duke or North Carolina, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they get like good crowds. Like they're playing where the Hurricanes play. They play a giant arena. They play at PNC, and UNC is like a reasonable size for college. Duke's a reasonable size for college. PNC is like a 18,000 seat arena. They're not selling that out every week. So it feels so weird to see NC State. It's not like the best comparison, but it's almost like growing up in New York. You were either a Rangers fan or an Islanders fan, and then the Devils make it. It's like wait, what?
Right.
But that's not even like the best comparison because it's like obviously Devils have a huge fan base. But right. It's a weird situation. I don't really know how to describe it. I would almost yeah. Like I'm trying to think of a good. I would like I honestly I don't know how to describe it. It's like the middle child. It's the middle child that is like there. It's like wait, they made the Final Four. Like how?
Growing up in Texas, it was always there. There's 6 major teams that everyone follows in Texas. You got UT, you've got A&M, you've got TCU, Baylor, Tech. Some of the states like North Carolina where you only have 3, where you have that 3-team dynamic, or maybe some other.
You got Wake Forest there too, but
yeah, where you have a bunch of small schools. And it's like huge fan base for 1 or 2, and then no one cares about the other 2 when it comes to the populace. Obviously, the alumni care about it, but is it any different from you growing up in New York with trying to watch college games in New York for New York-based schools?
Yeah, well, New York was different because the Northeast, for the most part, doesn't really care about college football. Like, I like college football, but I didn't really get into it until I went to college. New York, like, the closest team to me that was FBS was either UConn in a completely different state,
right,
or Rutgers in a completely different state. If you're talking like Syracuse, like Army, obviously, like that was probably the closest team. But you're talking like completely, if you're talking the same state of like a major conference, Syracuse is 5 hours away. So there wasn't really a huge, huge college football fan base in New York, and that's why I was confused when they expanded the Big Ten expanded to Rutgers to get the New York footprint. Like we don't really care about college football here. Like we not really.
Yeah, there's certain schools. It's like, wait, why are you in this conference? Speaking of conferences, we're going to be in the same conference pretty soon with my favorite team, and then where you graduated from your law degree, ASU and Baylor. ASU joining the Big 12 along with a bunch of other Pac teams. What are your thoughts going into that? Do you feel that there's some, obviously your Arizona State rivalry is going to still be there. Who do you see as possibly another kind of natural rival for ASU that's already in the Big 12?
Yeah, so not kind of like the Pac-12 teams. That's tough. I would probably say I mean, the big one, I don't know for ASU just yet. For Arizona, I can tell you, Arizona-Kansas games are going to be fun.
Oh, those are going to be huge.
Arizona-Kansas is going to be a bloodbath, and I cannot wait for that. You got two
both
of the
on the field and the court.
Yeah. Yeah, mainly for college basketball. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
For ASU, I would probably say from a football standpoint, we played Oklahoma State a few times as of late, and those games get intense. So I'd probably say Oklahoma State would probably be the most natural. I like the move, though. I like the move. Obviously, we had to get out of the Pac-12. We had to.
Right.
It was a dying conference.
The Pac was just drowning in the fact that it was not getting the TV deals that the others were getting.
Yeah.
It felt like you said the stepchild of the Big Five.
Yeah. And they had opportunities. They got greedy. They got greedy.
Yeah.
They flew close to the sun, and then it all just fell apart. I'm excited about ASU going to the Big 12. I've wanted them to join it for years if we were going to abandon the Pac-12 because it was a dying conference. Geographically, it makes sense. Like, it's a perfect geographic fit. Really, outside of UCF, I think they did the math. And the average distance, if you take out UCF, between all the schools for Arizona flight-wise is about the same as the distance. I think it's like 20 minutes more versus the Pac-12 because you had all those northern schools like Oregon State and Oregon and Wazoo and Washington. So it's geographically, it's not anything outrageous. Like Arizona teams being in the same conference as Texas teams, like that's not anything crazy.
You know, that was all that was the big complaint when the Big 12 added West Virginia was for like Texas, it was going to be this big long flight to get up there. And it's like, well, one, you're only running them once a year or once every 2 years, having to make that flight for each school, basically.
Right. I mean, I get for like the smaller sports,
but the basketball, you were running basically four. You're sending your team, two teams up there twice or once each. So there's 2 trips, and then you have them making the return trip. Each school was out that travel. So I can get why the whole keep it regional thing was big until here recently. And I think the SEC kind of started this mega conference, got to have 16 teams idea. And overall, I think that we're getting close to seeing possibly 2 mega conferences in NCAA football, and the conference is really not meaning anything for football other than that's who all your other sports are playing with.
Right. Yeah, I could see the next 25 years. I think we might be at a situation where it's like, this is not sustainable. Not for football. For football, it's sustainable. For football, you're traveling once a week. You have the budget. You have the money. You're bringing the revenue. But I just don't see – now, it doesn't matter for, like, ASU because, like, Texas, it's fine. Oklahoma's fine. Like it's reasonable travel. Kansas is fine. But for a lot of these things like Cal going to the ACC, like, I don't see how these smaller sports are surviving.
Right.
The revenue is, like, you're already losing money on every sport that's not football and basketball. Some schools make some on baseball, but not a lot. So I don't see how these other sports like women's volleyball and soccer and everything like that, I don't know how they're surviving.
You've called volleyball games. What would you say average attendance for volleyball games was back when you were calling them?
Yeah, I would say the arena held about 1,800. So I would say 500. I'll say 500.
And if it was televised, everyone was on one side, right? So the hard camera had a good shot.
We did not get any of those. We got the best we did was the ones I called on ESPN Plus. That was the best we did.